This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with a daily wrestling news update. Starting with some unfortunate news. I already reported this 3 days ago during my Great North Wrestling podcast interview with Billy Jack Haynes. Since Billy Jack Haynes brought her up in his full shoot interview, I passed on the news to him that Andrea Hart, Bruce Hart's wife, I'm not sure if they were still married or not, but she unfortunately passed away. She was a little bit controversial because Bruce Hart actually met her when he was 37 and she was 15. He was a substitute teacher and they started dating and they got married fairly soon after that. Eventually, when Davey Boy Smith broke up with Diana, there was a period of time where they were no longer together. Davey Boy Smith dated Andrea as well, but I believe he did reconcile with Diana before. Actually, no, he didn't. Sorry. I really have nothing but respect for the Smiths, and I know they went through hell, so I won't even get into that any further than that. I am sorry for the Hart family for this loss. Never heard too much about Andrea when I was in Calgary. Never personally met her. She did have numerous children with Bruce. 5 children, I think, altogether. Britt, Bruce Jr., Torin, Rhett, and Lara. Rhett, I did know very well. He had a disability, and Bruce would always bring Rhett to the dungeon practices to watch. So he was a great kid. He also went to the Stampede wrestling shows. So I'm really sorry to hear about that. Now, Wrestlekingdom's going on in other news right now. They had night 1 last night. I don't really follow Japanese wrestling. John Moxley defeated Lance Hoyt to become the new U.S. champion. That was the main news that stuck out to me. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, they had 43,000 fans at night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom. Last night, about 40,000 paid. And he said it was a noticeably more full house than last year. The pre-sale for tonight's Wrestle Kingdom, night 2, was lower. There's probably going to be somewhere between 30 and 40,000 attending. And they haven't announced yet if they're going to do 2 nights or not next year. I guess they're supposed to announce that tonight. So I guess I'll be able to report on that for you tomorrow. Dave Meltzer said that there's still a lot of bad blood on both sides between New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, even though New Japan is allowing the belt, the AEW title, to be shown on their New Japan World Network. AEW, I guess, doesn't have anything on their website about Chris Jericho's New Japan appearance tonight, according to the Wrestling Observer. I guess there was some threat of some legal action in the past on New Japan's side towards some people from AEW, and a lot of that still has not come to light, according to Meltzer. But maybe one day more of the news will come public about what all the bad blood is between the two companies, other than, of course, AEW took a lot of New Japan's top stars, so obviously there is bad blood due to that. And of course, AEW defeated NXT this past week. I guess AEW was a live show and NXT was a tape show. Some people commented yesterday that, oh, of course, AEW won. It wasn't even a real competition week because NXT was a tape show, but NXT did have the ability that if they wanted to do a live show, they could have. So, in my opinion, it still counts as a victory. And Dave Meltzer also reported that the Khan family is apparently thrilled about how AEW is doing. A couple questions I'll answer here. Tony R says Vince died years ago, but nobody told him. I don't know how Vince is going to do it, to be perfectly honest with you. Once the XFL responsibilities get bigger and bigger, and he's still trying to have his hand in the WWE product plus the XFL stuff at his age, in his late 70s. Most people are in their retirement years by then. AEW isn't much better than WWE, Devious One says. I would say WWE is actually better than AEW overall because the top stars, if you look at the cream, the very cream of WWE, they do have a lot of great talent in WWE. Way more talent than AEW has as far as talented performers like John Morrison, who just returned, AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, whether you like him or not, he's talented. The Undertaker, Goldberg, these are all stars. Who does AEW really have? Jericho to a lesser level, Cody Rhodes to a lesser level, John Moxley. There's way more stars in WWE. They just have a lot of bad stuff on TV. Oh, Bobby Lashley, speaking of bad stuff on TV, they're wasting him with the wedding. They could have been building up to a great feud with him and Lesnar, which I guess Lashley tweeted or something the other day that he hopes that happens in 2020, something along those lines. There was an interview that the Hannibal TV did with Lashley when he was still in Impact back in 2017, where he said even back then he wanted to wrestle or fight Brock Lesnar. So that would be a good match to have. Brock Lesnar, there's another guy, top athlete. Like WWE, as far as talent, can blow AEW away. As far as talent, both of the shows aren't booked the greatest, but good for all of the fans out there that like both products. I find the backstage stuff more interesting than the products. Someone says XFL will be another XFL. I unfortunately believe that too. I don't think XFL is going to do any better. As soon as I read that XFL is going to have a lower pay scale than CFL, you know they're doomed, unfortunately, because the CFL is so much lower quality than NFL as far as quality of football. Not that CFL is a bad product, but then you're going to try and play us XFL. I don't know, man. I'll answer a couple more questions. Tony R says, bring back the territories. Well, WWE's probably going to try and bring back the territories, but unfortunately, it's going to be WWE branded NXT style territories. If they can keep getting this TV revenue as the years come, because obviously, if interest in their products keeps going down, they won't get as big TV contracts in future years. And NXT, I think they are making money now for the first time that they have the USA TV deal, but this was the first year that NXT ever made money. They were huge money losses before. So I don't know how NXT UK apparently was a big money loss. That's why they stopped doing house shows. They just do NXT UK TV tapings now. So I don't know how you're going to expand and do house shows that lose money. Even NXT, if you look at their house shows, NXT has a lot of house shows around 100 fans show up. So you got to pay all these wrestlers weekly salaries to compete. they're not wrestling for $50 like most independent wrestlers. They're on salary. So I think if interest continues to go down and they don't get as big TV deals in the future, they will have a harder time creating those territories. There was talk that they were going to try and do a Canadian territory. They did have a Canadian tryout this past August. Santino's daughter was in it. Max Testosterone from Great North Wrestling was in it. Lady Yasmin from Great North Wrestling was in it. None of those 3 wrestlers got signed. They also had a guy that had cancer in that Canadian tryout, which I found weird that he's going through chemotherapy and they gave him a tryout when me, which I've since been cured, but back when I had Hep C, I actually had my contract taken away due to Hep C, which is a curable disease that I since got cured from. And they never even looked at me again, even after I was told I was the best in the camp that I was hired from. Mason Ryan was also in that camp. AJ Lee was in that camp. Darren Young was in that camp. But they're giving guys that they know are going through chemotherapy tryouts. That seems like a publicity stunt to me. 90s card guy says Dark Order will be bigger than the NWO. Yeah, right. They're horrible, just horrible, horrible wrestlers. Have a good night, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'll check in with you tomorrow. Check out the phone interview I did today with Kevin Sullivan, who's going to be on the huge PCW anniversary show next Friday night, January 10th in LA. I'm going to be covering it. Chris Masters is on that show. Jacob Fatu. The Blood Hunters on that show. Ricky Banderas. Killer Cross. The Sheik. It's just a huge list of big stars on that show. PCWultra.com has more information. Have a good night.